I'm sitting here with Gia Milani, writer-director of All the Wrong Reasons, and this is the opening film for the Silver Wave Film Fest, and so I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited to be able to talk with Gia today. Now, you wrote this film as well, and in this film there are multiple characters who are overcoming like really big obstacles, so I'm wondering like what compelled you to write this?
I think I'm interested in character, like in everyday people. I'm really interested in people and how they get through things, and what drives them. What I found in researching the film was a lot about trauma. I focused a lot on Kate, who has post-traumatic stress disorder, and in researching trauma and her character, I found out really a lot about what drives people, and that's fear and having small traumas in your past and being able to survive and cope every day and not necessarily grow as a person because you're always getting wrapped up in protecting yourself and feeling safe. And I found it really, really interesting. So I tried to put that a lot in the film.
That brings to mind an interesting thing that I heard once about psychiatrists who sometimes take on the trauma of their patients if they're not careful. Did you feel at all that while you were writing these characters you were kind of taking on bits of their own trauma? Did it make your life hectic at all?
It didn't really do that, but I do act out the scenes as I write to make sure that they fit. And when Kate's having panic attack, I could take that on. I could feel that coming on. And I hadn't had a panic attack in years and years, because I used to have anxiety disorder as a kid, and I hadn't had one in years and years and years. And I felt that come on, and that was horrible. So I scaled that back a little bit. But no, I don't think so. I did mind some of the stuff that happened to me. Some things that happened to me in high school and stuff did kind of mind that a little bit, but no, I didn't take those on. That sounds like like the hypochondria stuff that would transfer to a writer, but no, I didn't. That's good.
So you had an anxiety disorder when you were younger, and I've seen a statistic that 20% of Canadians suffer from some kind of mental illness. Did that inform your choice to do this at all, or was it just like basically the characters organically happened? Or?
They kind of organically happened. Originally, Kate's character was more about body image, and how, and actually they all were, about how they perceived themselves and how the world perceived them. But then it morphed into the trauma a little bit more, just because a friend of mine had come back from a tour and he had post-traumatic stress.
Oh.
And we were talking a lot about how is it affecting his family and things, and I wanted to explore that a little bit, but not in a way that touched on war, because in doing my research on it, I found out that everybody has post-traumatic stress. Like, everybody does, but it's on a scale. And I didn't realize there was a scale either. There's a scale from 0 to 10.
Oh.
And you can fall anywhere on that scale, but if you find yourself reacting to something or protecting yourself from something, and I use this quite a bit, but if as an example, but if a teacher, say, yells at you in front of the classroom, you've put your hand up and said something, and they make fun of you or do something like that, and you never raise your voice again. You never put your hand up. That's a trauma that affects you. And forever that could be in your mind, and it will sink into your subconscious, but you may never speak up in a meeting when you're 30 years old. And because of that, so I found that really interesting in doing the research for the character. Yeah.
I'm learning stuff just in this interview. It's fantastic. So this is your first feature film that you've done. You have a history of doing short films, but this is your first feature. So what was different about directing a feature from directing a short film other than the length at the end?
Nothing. It's the
Wow.
same. It's the same. It is. It's just the length. It's the length. You still don't have enough money. You still don't have enough time. You still don't have your locations. They will still fall through. Everything that happens to you on a short film, everything that goes wrong will happen to you on a feature. It's the same thing.
So short films are really a good learning ground for what you're gonna,
Yep.
the trauma you're gonna go through when you're making your feature.
No, it's the same thing, just on a larger scale. So if if you're on a short film and you have 5 crew members and a location falls through, then you're moving a crew of 5 to somewhere else. You're finding something like that. If you if your location falls through on a bigger production, you're moving a crew of 100. So it's the same problems, but on a larger scale. But it's still, I mean, it's the same. It's fun. It's challenging. That's what I like about it.
So I heard that your lead actor kind of fell through at the 11th hour, and you sent an email to Corey Monteith, and he saved the day.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that roller coaster?
Yeah, sure. It was.
Speaking of trauma.
Yeah, that was traumatic. Actually, lost 2 actors just before we shot. So I lost one on. We were going to start shooting on Monday. I lost one on Wednesday and another one Thursday. So and it's an ensemble, so there's 4 leads. So I lost 2 out of the 4 leads in a couple of days.
How did you not just throw your hands up and say, I'm done, I can't do this?
Because at that point it had been 4 hours. I wish it was 4 hours. 4 years of really, really hard work. And I wanted that. And, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, it takes this long for a feature all the time. And sure, but I live in New Brunswick. This is my only kick at the can. I didn't have any other projects in the works. I had nothing else. This was my one shot. And there was no way after 4 years I was going to let it slip through my fingers at the 11th hour. I couldn't let that happen. So I got on the phone, and I had met with Karin Banas about 6 months earlier, and I loved her. Like, just as a person, she was so amazing. And so I thought of her immediately, and she had a 4-week window. And that was it. In her whole year, she had 4 weeks, and she agreed to do it. And so that was fantastic. So she came on board right away the next day, I think. And I was so relieved. And then that night, I lost a second actor. And I wasn't expecting that at all. And I wasn't sure what to do, and they were going to pull the plug, the other producers. Now, I'm a producer on it too, but there's 3 of us. And the other 2, one being my husband, said, you know, I think we're done. And we need to pull this before we get too much more over our head, because we had spent, I don't know how much money at that point in pre-production. And I just said, no, give me 24 hours. I know I can do this. I can recast. Give me 24 hours. And so they did, and we contacted Corey. And I saw an interview with him on Strombo, and I thought he was great, because he said he wanted to try something else. And so I thought, well, maybe he would give this a shot. So we sent it to him.
Yeah, because it's not like singing and dancing like Glee at all. It's quite the heavy material.
It was, and so we sent it to him, and he read it while he was doing interviews at Comic-Con. He read it in between interviews.
Wow.
And so that was Saturday night, and he called me on Sunday, and he said, you know what, this is great. I can't believe it. It fell right into my lap. This is amazing. And because he worked at Walmart as a teenager, and so he knew his role already, and he's like, this was made for me. And I was like, oh my God, like, what? Really? Okay. Like, I felt so lucky. And he was on a plane about 4 hours later.
So sometimes things just happen for a reason, and if you run with it and believe, that's the lesson to all you filmmakers. Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
So you were saying this is your your only kick at the can, being like a New Brunswick filmmaker, but what a kick at the can. Like, you won the Emerging Filmmaker Award at TIFF.
That was nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are there any other awards that I just haven't heard of, or?
No, I wish there were a bunch, but
Well, you know, getting the opening spot for Silver Wave is not too bad. You're
that's so great.
Homegrown hero. We're all really proud of you.
This is nice. This is full circle. You know, this is like, I joined the film co-op like 9 or 10 years ago. So this is amazing to me to be able to bring this back home. I mean, that's so cool.
So you've been in audiences so far, and you've seen people's reactions. Is it going to be any different being in the audience on home turf? I know you've done this before with short films, but is it going to be different, or does it make you just as nervous, or?
I think it makes me more nervous being here.
Okay.
Than anywhere. It was like when I brought it to Halifax, because I know everybody in Halifax too. That made me nervous. I wasn't nervous at TIFF, not at all. And I think it was because it was so overwhelming, but I also didn't know anybody. So that was okay. I felt like if, you know, they could judge the work and everything and find, but they didn't know the context and how it was made or why or whatever, and so it just felt different. But here, everybody knows the story, everybody knows the backstory, everybody knows me and what I went through, and it's just different. It's different audience.
But at the same time, everybody's been pulling for you the
Yeah.
whole time, so
then
we're
like
all,
I want them to
really
be proud.
excited. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
okay.
hoping that that they feel like it lives up to the hype that it's had over the last few months.
Well, I'm really excited to see it, and I'm sure that our audience is too. So make sure that you check out opening night film for Silver Wave, All the Wrong Reasons, writer, director, producer, Gia Milani. And I'm sure she'll be in the audience listening for your whispers. So don't be whispering. Make sure you shut off your cell phones, and we'll see you at Silver Wave.